I tend not to be a happy person when I'm not getting any sleep. I tend to get crankier and crankier and crankier. And it's not because I'm a cranky person. It's because physiologically there's imbalances in the hormones when you're not getting enough sleep that make you kind of feel that way.
And today, this episode is all about sleep, the self care solutions. And I personally know because I'm an autism mom and I also coach autism moms. And sleep is one of our challenges at being autism parents. And we don't get enough sleep. Our kids don't get enough sleep. So, welcome back. Very excited about this episode, Dr. Michelle Trias.
Oh, it's so great to be back. Thanks so much for having me.
So, can you tell us why sleep is so important?
Yes. Well, as I was looking at this topic, it reminded me of, when I had babies and I was getting no sleep. And I felt as though I was falling apart mentally, physically, and emotionally. Because sleep is so essential for good health. And in fact, we need sleep to survive. That's why you need it so much that your body will make you sleep if you don't sleep. So you'll start to be very sleepy. There's only so long you can go without nodding off, even in a most very uncomfortable situation. So just like we need food and water, we need sleep. So, we spend about a third of our lives sleeping. And so many biologicals or processes are happening during sleep. You're busy during the day. The body has a lot to do. So there's a lot that it can't do while it's helping you drive, read, eat, move about your day, think, go to meetings. And so there are biological processes that can only happen at night. So the brain stores new information and gets rid of toxic waste. Nerve cells communicate, reorganize, which supports healthy brain function. The body repairs cells, restores energy. It releases molecules like hormones and protein. Sleep boosts your immune system, so you'll likely get less sick less often if you have more sleep and you have more energy throughout the day. Everybody knows how you feel and how you function the night after a very poor sleep in terms of your mental capacity, and that is because the body was not able to get rid of toxic waste, store the information. It wasn't able to do all of those processes, and so the next day you feel like I don't know what's happening. I brain fog. It's all very foggy, and it's because we really do. You do need help, and getting enough sleep gives you energy. It reduces the risk for serious medical conditions, high blood pressure, heart disease, type 2 diabetes. And it also helps you maintain a healthy body weight, as sleep is a vital player in your body's ability to regulate hormones that control appetite and metabolism. This is why we crave carbs when we're tired. If you've ever been so sleepy, you're tired and you're working or you're working late, you just like, I just want to eat something real carby. I just want to eat something real fried and battered, because we're just so tired. So when you're sleeping, it lowers stress, it improves your mood, helps you focus and think more creatively. So it's a lot is happening, and between 1 and 3 a.m. This is the time. This is the liver's time, and it's the time when the body should be asleep. And during this time, toxins are released from the body and fresh new blood is made. And if you find yourself waking during this time, it's in traditional Chinese medicine, it's would indicate that you have too much yang energy, or what I would say is you have problems with detoxification in the liver pathways, because the body is trying to detoxify. And if you're having trouble there, or if you have an overabundance of toxins, you might wake up between 1 and 3 a.m. every single day and wonder, why am I waking up at this time of night? And so these processes are all critical. But I know, and I've been there with children that keep us up, and it's um, I tend not to be a happy person when I'm not getting any sleep. I tend to get crankier and crankier and crankier. And it's not because I'm a cranky person. It's because physiologically there's imbalances in the hormones when you're not getting enough sleep that make you kind of feel that way.
Yeah, and I can relate too. Not just when my boys were infants, but with a child on the spectrum. Joseph uh, Joseph was very hard to get to sleep. He to stay asleep. I know there are so many autism moms that are listening to this that may be falling asleep while you're listening to this because you're just so exhausted. So I know that, and I had to work really hard, is an understatement to get Joseph in a very strict routine. So why is bedtime, those routines, so important in improving our quality of sleep?
Yeah, routines in general are really good for us. We feel good when we have a sort of general routine, but I like to have a very strict bedtime routine specifically for myself that I follow because it feels good. I know it works. It's almost like when I start the routine, I can start, my body's like, oh, we know what's happening. She's going to sleep. It starts to relax. So getting into a routine, it starts to it triggers a memory response from your body. And so your body's like, okay, she's on her routine. So they're very satisfying for your mind and body. But, sleeping is like up there with my top favorite three things to do. um, I love sleeping. I miss sleeping in, but I love sleeping so much that I'll even go to sleep earlier. And that was one of my strategies too, because with my kids, I started to get into the pattern of, okay, well, they're going to sleep early and they're waking up very early before the sun is up. And so I'll go to sleep early too, which was tough. I wanted to stay up and watch Netflix and do stuff and catch up. But if I didn't listen to my body and sleep, I was going to be wrecked for the next day. So, since our body does so much repair during the night while we're sleeping, a bedtime routine can set you up for a great night's sleep, which sets you up for a great morning, which sets you up for a great day. So, yeah, I started implementing this routine after I had kind of done the process that you talk about with your son, after I did it with my children. And I it was kind of, for them, it was an elaborate routine, and I wished it was like shorter after we got into the routine of it. I'm like, okay, 45 minutes later, I've sang 10 songs. And so we have shortened the routine since the initial start of the routine because the routine got to be pretty long. But having a routine for yourself is really important, and you'll feel great once you get into that.
Yes, and Joseph, who is now 28, he still requires he knows now as an adult on the spectrum, on the autistic spectrum, that he needs a lot of time. He works at a radio station now, and he has to get up very early, and his biological clock is not getting up early. He's a night owl. So I used to think, and this is being a mom for a long time on dealing, and observing my son on the spectrum. If he has to get up at 5 a.m., he has got to start winding down at like 6 o'clock the
Mm-hmm.
night before. It
Mm-hmm.
takes him hours to unwind, hours to finally get into a sleep. So these great bedtime routines are essential, and I, for one, do also do better. So what are some great examples of some great bedtime routines?
Oh, great. So, like you said, you're going to have to customize it to fit your life. And so, if you need more sleep, then you may need to start your routine a little bit earlier. If you're, I can't sleep when I'm wound up. When something has happened during the day that's wound me up, I can't make my brain stop enough to sleep. I'll just lay there in bed. So this routine will help you with that because you're sort of winding down to bed. So an hour before bed, first thing you do is you silence your phones, plug them in, set your alarm. So this way, you don't have to say, like, as you're dozing off, oh, I forgot to set my alarm. I better set it, which has happened to me. That's why this is number one on the routine for me, is to silence the phones, plug them in, set the alarm, and then that's kind of an hour before. I like to drink a bedtime tea. Now, my favorite, there's lots of different sleepy time teas out there, but my favorite is bedtime tea. It has valerian root and skullcap and ashwagandha. It's got all these herbs that are specifically formulated to help ease you into sleep. And some of my patients say, well, am I going to wake up groggy or am I going to wake up sleepy? And no, this is not a drug. This is just using natural herbs that help the body to relax, and they're non-addictive. So um, drinking this bedtime tea is definitely a part of my routine. If you want, you could add a little. They have powdered magnesium, and there's different brands, but the one that we use is called Calm. And you could put a little bit of that in your tea as well, and that would definitely help you, so that within an hour you start to feel. And it's different. It's a different feeling than what you feel if if you've ever had a sleeping aid, or if you've ever taken Tylenol PM, where you start to feel fuzzy, and all you feel is the same feeling that you feel when you're starting to get tired, where you're like, I'm really tired and I'm ready to go to bed. Just, you can feel it. You just feel a little more, so it helps you to kind of, okay, I'm ready to go. So that's my second sort of step there. Essential oils that specifically help with sleep, you can put those into a diffuser. I have a little diffuser that's next to my nightstand, and I put a few drops in the diffuser, and then rubbing essential oils on the bottom of your feet is a really great way for them to absorb into your system quickly. So lavender, melissa, sandalwood, these are some great ones. And then some brands out there that have doTERRA has a great blend where they blended a bunch of these different oils together for sleep, called Serenity, that we use. And they have a little roller ball. So I'll do this for the kids. I'll put a little roller ball next to their temples, on the bottoms of their feet, and then behind their neck. But it just does two things. One, it helps them relax immediately because of the smell. And then also the essential oils, once they're absorbed into the skin, they have a therapeutic effect as well. So essential oils are great. I love using them for sleep. I started using them with my babies. Be careful with little babies that stick feet into their mouths. So what I would do is I would rub a little bit on the bottom of their feet and then put little socks on their feet so they wouldn't. It's not like you can't eat it, but sometimes they will touch it and get it into their eyes. So just be careful with little ones when you're using essential oils.
Yeah, and so I'm an autism mom, so my first thought is, will this be okay for me to use with my child on the spectrum?
Mm-hmm.
Because, moms don't sleep unless their kids sleep, right?
Right.
So,
And so, yeah, I mean, it's great for that. And as long as, it's part of the routine for my kids too, but, rubbing them on and then giving a little massage on the feet too. It's like very nice for them to kind of close out their day. And so you can build this into your child's routine too, but rubbing lavender on the bottom of your feet it has an effect on the body of making it relax and get very sleepy. So it's a great thing. It's really easy, and kids really love it, and they feel like you're doing like loving care for them. They love it. They get a few minutes of a little foot massage as you rub the oil in. So definitely you can use that on your children. It's very safe, and we use it on babies as well.
okay, good. So I know autism moms are absorbing this because we're all craving sleep. I know I did when Joseph was smaller. So what
Well,
are some other tips?
so this is one that I put on my list of things not to do, because I'm very bad at this, but avoid talking about things that have to get done tomorrow with your spouse or your kids or your family or yourself. So when I leave for work, when I'm done, I make sure that I write my list out of what I need to do for the following day. That way it's not rolling around in my head that all night, like, I hope I remember to do that. So just write it down, close the book, and leave the work. Same thing with things that have to happen at home. There are things that have to happen at home. The plumber needs to come, and this is going on, and something's wrong with this, and somebody needs a permission slip signed. Write yourself a note, and before that has to happen before you start your bedtime routine. So after we've cleaned up for dinner, and after I've all the dishes are put away and we're ready to kind of head upstairs to relax a little bit and have some fun, that's when I make my home list. It's like you're closing the end of the day for work and you're closing the end of the day for home. So this is the time when, if bills need to get paid or things need to get done, that's the time to do it. And not waiting to do that right before bed. Starts the wheels spinning again. You're trying to slow them down. And I'm pretty bad about this, where my husband's been like, can we talk about this tomorrow? We're like about to go to bed. I'm like, I just need to tell you so that I can sleep. It's almost like I need to say it so that I can get it off my chest so I can sleep. He's like, I don't want to know. So it's definitely something to avoid. Sleeping in a comfortable bed with comfortable sheets, comfortable pillow. We spend so much time sleeping. It makes sense to make your bed as comfortable as possible. And my bed, I have to tell you, is the most comfortable place in my whole house. The sheets are cool, the pillows are just right. I've like spent time trying to find the best possible scenario. And when I get into my bed, it's like, I feel like I'm in oasis time. And that's how you should feel. So if you've got a lumpy mattress, or your sheets feel scratchy, I would definitely recommend trying to find some more comfortable options for yourself for sleeping. So you're climbing into bed, it feels really good, your sheets feel good, you drank your tea, you drank it like 45 minutes ago, so you don't have to worry. So now is the time to make a last pit stop to the bathroom, take care of everything you need in order to feel great about going to sleep. And then before bed, journaling. It's not something that I do every night, but if I had kind of a rough day, or like if I had an argument with one of my children, or I disagreed with my husband, or something's going on with my parents that I need to work out, I write it down, I journal about it to kind of get it out. Like there's nothing to do, right? Things are all resolved, but sometimes when you have an emotional day, it's best to put it on paper, and it sort of like gets it out of your body and puts it somewhere else. And once it's out of your body, it's out of your mind too. So jotting down some feelings and notes on the day can help you to have an emotional release. And once you have that emotional release, it will trigger sleep. That's why it can make you very sleepy as you're journaling at night, sitting in bed. You can start to feel really sleepy after you've released those emotions that you needed to release out there into the journal.
Yeah, those are excellent tips. And I know that it depends on where you're at, and what your kids are doing, or just what's going on in your life. And so once we get into this good sound sleep and practice these tips that you just shared, one of the things that I always struggled with, so I'm just curious, and you get woken up in the middle of the night out of a good sound sleep that we just did all these practices to get there. I have a hard time going back to sleep. And right now I'm experiencing menopause, and there's all kinds of things. But even when I was younger
Mm-hmm.
and the boys were smaller and they would just, have a nightmare or whatever, I had the hardest time going back to sleep. So do we redo this? What are some tips you might
I
have for
wouldn't
that?
go through the whole process again. I use it. I use a deep breathing technique when I'm having trouble getting back to sleep. And so the way that it works is that I will take a deep breath and I will count while I'm breathing in. I'll count one, two, three in my head, four, five, and then once I get to five, I'll hold my breath. One, two, three, four, five. And then I'll slowly release my breath to the count of 10, like very, very slowly, so that you're slowly breathing out. And so I will do this usually 7 to 10 times, and that will tell my brain and body to shut back down. It sort of like hits the emergency stop button on the brain, like you're going back to sleep. So I would try that, taking big deep breath. Take that deep breath in. I did wake up my husband once doing this. He's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I can't get back to sleep," and I know this works because I've used it so many times before. And he's like, "Okay, can you breathe a little softer over there?" So yeah, just holding at the top, holding, and then, but like really very conscious about breathing out slowly, and sort of that inhalation, holding the breath, and then breathing it out will relax the body back into a state of getting back to sleep. So that's what I would do. I wouldn't start, but you could also go back, get some more lavender. And if you are, having some menopausal symptoms and you're hot, a really great way to cool yourself down immediately is if you have some peppermint essential oil. You could put that on the back of your neck and on the bottoms of your feet. And it's like, woo, you are cooling down immediately. So what I like to do is mix the lavender and I have my patients do that, mix the lavender and the peppermint, rub it on the back of their neck and rub it on the bottom of their feet. I would probably start my routine, I would that way. And then if I woke up because I was hot, I would add that again. It'll cool you down right away. And then you can get into the breathing technique to help you wind the brain down, because it's the brain. Sometimes it's the body that wakes you up, and it's easier to go back to sleep when it's the body. But when it's the brain, it's like I can't help it, I'm already planning tomorrow's day, and
Yeah. Yeah.
what I'm gonna do. So
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, that's great. So, that's a great way to get back to sleep. And I'm going to get that peppermint. I
good.
do have essential oils, and I will be trying
Perfect.
those. So,
I find that a lot of people do nowadays. I say, "Hey, do you have peppermint or lavender?" They're like, "Yeah, of
mhm.
course I have it. I just didn't know what to use it for." I'm like, "Oh, well, use it for this, use it for that." So
Right. Yeah. So these are great tips. Firstly, to be able to go to sleep for yourself, for your kids, and then some tips on what to do should you have a hard time going back to sleep. And sometimes our kids have a hard time going back to sleep if they're woken up. So this is great. And I do love essential oils, and I do use the lavender, but I'm going to add the peppermint to my recipe. So,
perfect.
yeah.
Great.
So, we have had a great conversation around self compassion. We've talked about the why, what it does to our mind, our bodies, and our spirits, and how to be more loving to ourselves. So, in conclusion, what are the messages or the takeaways that you want our listeners to have really heard in our conversations to take with them on their self love journey?
So kind of looking back at, and hopefully you listened to all of the 4 in this series, but in the first episode we talked about what stress does to the body and how important it is to know, okay, well, is this physically hurting me? So here's some steps that I can do to reduce stress in my life, to increase self-care and self-love, because it's helping me with stress. And then we talked about self-compassion and love and the brain, and really I loved episode 2 when we were talking about forgiveness, forgiving ourselves. That was really powerful, and remembering to have self-compassion for yourself and have forgiveness, and not set yourself up for situations that are going to really stress you out. And then talking, trying to stay, having compassion for yourself, finding self-worth within yourself instead of outside of yourself with social media and Facebooks, and then taking care of your sleep routines, and really making that a sacred time. I feel like it's a very sacred time when you do self-care, and when you have your sleep routines. It's super important, and my family loves it and relies on it now. So my husband has a hard time when we travel, like we have to remember the tea, because he loves the tea. It really is part of his routine. And so I hope that for your families, if you're listening out there, that they will love these routines as well to help keep them having energy and sleeping well.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And, and we talked about this too. One of the things that I really, the message that I keep saying, and I will continue to say, is that when we want our home, the family dynamic, everything in our lives to feel calmer, and it really does begin with us. So, and I did it. I was a single mom. I was super stressed out. So when we learn how to really honor, and I love the word you use, Dr. Michelle, sacred, we really make this sacred because we understand that when we do practice self love, self compassion, and we really do take care of ourselves, everything around us begins to shift.
Mm-hmm.
This is the beginning of your shift to create a balanced life.
Yeah, I mean, you're setting the example for how you should be treated. So this is how I treat myself. I love myself enough to take time out to do this for myself. And so then your kids see that. They're like, "Oh, okay, mom's doing this," and your spouse sees that. I guess, and so you set the example of like, this is what the expectation is. This is how much I value myself. This is how much I'm worth. And not only that, then they take that into their own families and practice that in their own, when they grow up and they have their own families, they take those tools with them too. And well, my mom, I remember that she didn't just work all day and then pass out in bed. She did this or that. I know that they take things, these children, they're just little duplicates of us, and they just want to love and and be loved, really. And they're watching us, and they're taking their cues. And so I'm hoping to raise a bunch of really strong women who have this sort of, not arrogant, but more like, well, I know that I'm worth it. Like, is there even a question? Like,
Mm-hmm.
can we get to the point where the new generation doesn't even have to have the question, am I worthy? The question is, the answer is, of course I'm worthy. Who even said that question?
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Why are
next
you
generation.
asking me?
Why would you ask me that? Of
Yeah.
course I'm worthy. I saw my mom do this and take time and do self-care for herself, and of course I'm worthy of that. So that's the hope that I have, that through this, if you're listening, you're creating this new generation too. So you're taking care of yourself, and I hope that you do. But I hope that your children are watching you take care of yourself. I hope they're watching you love on yourself, and you're teaching them that when they're out there in the world all their own, or when they're doing things, that they have a solid base for their own self-love, even outside of you, which is important. You have to love yourself first. So um, I'm constantly telling my kids that, when they get down on themselves, I'm like, you gotta love yourself.
Yeah.
You gotta love yourself. You gotta love yourself. You're the most important opinion. It's a good lesson to have. And so that's the hope, really, in all of this, is that the next generation will feel worthy from the start.
What a beautiful expression and hope and inspiration, because I too hope that for this next generation, and that people really do understand that we're all in this together. This
Mm-hmm.
is our human condition, and if we can love ourselves, and we're sure going to be kinder to everyone.
Yes, exactly.
So before we close, I want to make sure that you've mentioned everything that you've wanted to, and also to make sure that we share where people can find you.
Yes. So I've a doctorate in traditional naturopathy. So I focus on holistic healthcare. My main area of expertise is digestive wellness. So if you're looking for a holistic healthcare professional, you can find me. I do telemedicine. So I see patients here in Southwest Florida, and I see patients in California, New Jersey. So you can find me at mynaturalwellness.com, or you can email me at drmichelle@mynaturalwellness.com. And I do have Facebook and Instagram where I post little tips and recipes and ways to add here and there some holistic tips on having how to live your life in a more natural and holistic way, and how to be healthier as you move through your life.
Beautiful. I hope that you will go try some of these tips and reach out to either one of us. We're here for you, and we want you to live a life based on self worth, self compassion, and most importantly, love yourself. Thank you. See you in the next episode.